started, but I guess you could just say it started at birth. He's filming what you had a nightmare about when you were a child in the 80s. Because I'm gonna list my favorite movies from the year I was born up till today. So let's just do it. Okay, I'm gonna have to narrow it down between The Breakfast Club and Rocky IV. Two movies couldn't be any further apart from each other. Like I said, when you watch movies like Legally Blonde and Mean Girls and Clueless, and then you throw Amadeus into the mix, you have to question your reality. I wish I could watch early 2000 Ice Cube werewolf movies. I really think that the funniest scene in the movie is still that scene where Daniel Stern is on the ground and the tarantula starts crawling on his face. This is the first interactive movie, a choose-your-own-adventure style film by the guys who make Black Mirror.
To fix it. Then I was talking to some furniture, but I don't want to freak him out.
Oh hey, didn't see you there. Welcome back to Dom Talks Movies. I know it's been a minute since I've done one of these, but guess what? It's the 10th episode, so let's get started! Episode number 2! Woo! Let's talk some movies. Yes, it's true. It's episode number 10, a great milestone. I haven't made 10 versions of anything, so this is pretty cool. So I thought it would be fun for the 10th episode for all my viewers to get to know me a little bit better, you know, all 6 of you. So I'm going to be answering 10 movie-related questions. Let's get started. What do you think of people that talk during movies at a movie theater? Well, I don't think much of them, and I don't like those people, and people shouldn't be allowed to talk during movies. We're not allowed to talk during library sessions, so we shouldn't be talking during a movie. Can't talk in church. Honestly, I think there's nothing more annoying than hearing some asshole talk about whatever it is he needs to talk about during a movie. And this doesn't even just apply to movie theaters, this applies to just watching a movie in your home. I like to be uninterrupted when watching a movie, especially one I've never seen before. I'm a little more lenient when it comes to like a movie I've seen 1,000 times, but still there's moments in those movies where you're not allowed to talk. I think in the movie Drive, where he brings that bullet to that Russian guy in the strip club, and it looks like he's about to hammer it into his head, I don't think you should talk during that scene. I want to enjoy all of that scene and in its purity. What is the scariest movie you have ever seen? Every time I think of this question, I just go back to the original Pet Sematary. I don't think the movie itself, like the whole movie, is like super scary. But that sister, man, that mangled up sister in the flashback in the bed with her bones sticking out and everything, that creeps me out. Even talking about it's making me uncomfortable. I don't like it. I'm never gonna like it. If the thought of it scares me, if a thought of a movie scares you, then it's pretty scary. What movie of your own are you most proud of, and which one are you most ashamed of? I made a few little shorts, a couple ditties here and there. I'm not really ashamed of any of it. I think all of them are reflections of the time that they were made by the person that made it. I'm saying that like when I made a movie in 2009, obviously it's going to be a lot different than a movie in 2019. I made a movie called Bloodbath. It would have been 10 years ago. And my version of it, writing it, was like, this is gonna be like my own Evil Dead 2. It's gonna be silly, it's gonna be horrific, it's gonna be scary, it's gonna be funny, it's gonna be all those things. Practical effects, a lot of blood. And the plot was, there was this guy whose wife was killed in like a bombing in a coffee shop.
My name is Harvey Pope. On October 1st, 2008, my life changed forever.
So he does some research, and it turns out that the people responsible for it were this terrorist group called the Horsemen. The Horsemen are comprised of 4 members: a werewolf, a vampire, a demon, and an alien. Automatically, this is a very ambitious thing to do.
He's a human. What could he possibly do? Bruno.
Yes?
Bye.
Okay.
I think I did all right though. I mean, considering all the resources I had and means that I had to make it.
Got blood? I do, baby.
Further along into production, I wanted to make it a little bit more dramatic. I think I was shifting tones a little too much, and the problem I had the most was there's not enough blood in it. When you call a movie Bloodbath, there better be a lot of blood, and there wasn't enough, but it's always one of those ideas I really enjoy, and I wish I could go back and maybe do it better, do it justice, but we'll see. The movie that I've made that I'm the most proud of is a film called YESTERYEAR, and this was supposed to be my own my own Twilight Zone episode. It was about a guy who is about to turn 30, I think, in the movie, and he's just like kind of dealing with his mortality, dealing with getting older, and maybe he's not in the place that he wants to be in his life, and he ends up going down memory lane, watching some old home videos. He pops a VHS tape in when he was like a 6-year-old kid, and he notices in the film that his adult self is in the background, which leads him on a weird little journey. I really liked how this one turned out. I think the acting in it was great. I think the tone overall was really good. The soundtrack turned out really nice. If you want to watch either of those movies, you can. I'll put the links in the description. What movie star would you most like to meet? This is a toss-up between Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell. Huge 80s action fan and just grew up on those movies. But overall, if I had to choose, I gotta go with Kurt Russell. It's a real tough one. I want to talk to both of those guys. I respect their bodies of work, both very different bodies of work, but they obviously came together to make the best film of the world, Tango and Cash. Just kidding, but not really, because I really like it, but it's not that good, but it is. Do you think that films can be educational? I mean, obviously a documentary is educational. I think that films have a way of teaching things that sometimes go completely under the radar and sometimes are very obvious. I always think back about how I had heard once that the movie E.T. was actually a story about a boy dealing with his parents' divorce. For that reason alone, I think that movies do have this ability to teach us how to like cope with things. There's a character in a movie going through something that's similar to what we're going through in real life. That's something that we can learn from and experience with them. And for that reason, yeah, I think films can definitely be educational, and obviously some more than others. Who's your favorite director? Martin Scorsese. I always like Martin Scorsese. I like all his movies. I really do enjoy pretty much all his movies. I don't think I've seen the one, the jazz movie with Robert De Niro and Liza Minnelli. Is that even a thing? Hey Suri, what's that Martin Scorsese movie with Robert De Niro and Liza Minnelli?
I don't really know.
New York, New York. That movie by Martin Scorsese, I have not seen that movie. But I obviously really love Goodfellas. I talk about that movie a lot. It's my number one ever for any movie. Casino, Mean Streets, The Color of Money, even The Departed. I think it has a lot of flaws, but it's a good movie. Gangs of New York, cut out an hour of that movie and you got a really good film. But yeah, Martin Scorsese, he is a great director. Wolf of Wall Street. Can you remember the name of the first movie you saw that made you cry? I can. I have cried at a lot of movies since. I love crying. Crying's my favorite. But I have a memory of when I was about 5 or 6. I was young, and we were watching a movie on TV called Best of the Best. And if you haven't seen this movie, don't worry, because nobody has except for me. This is like a kickboxing movie from the 80s starring Eric Roberts, Chris Penn, and James Earl Jones. So at the end of the film, it's basically a fight between Team America and Team Japan. Japan wins, but I guess maybe in the film they didn't win the right way or whatever, but they all decide to give their medals to the losing team. And there's a lot of crying and there's a lot of sad music, and I just lost it. I just cried a lot. And I think in retrospect it was because of the combination of sad music and like all these emotions going on. I didn't know why I was crying. I was 5, but I was really sad at the moment. I've watched that scene again since, and it's not that sad, but it's like a happy sad. I don't know, but yeah, I cried in that one first. Do you think there's too much nudity in movies or not enough? Easy, not enough. No, I think that anything done in the right way is best. I think that nudity has its place in film. It obviously just can't show up anywhere, but if it's done tastefully and done in the right context, I'm all for it. Nudity doesn't offend me. It's a human body. It's beautiful. Sometimes people think it's like damaging youth or creating these weird feelings in children a little too young. But that's the whole, okay, so the whole thing about like parental guidance when it comes to cinema is that films have done a really good job at telling you what is gonna happen in a film. When you watch those HBO movies, you have this long list of has nudity, violence, language, all this stuff. So you can just decide, like, is my kid okay with all this? Okay, fine, they can watch it. If they're not, don't let them watch it. It's just that easy. You can't not include certain things in films just because one group of people doesn't like it or finds it inappropriate. Do you think there is too much violence in movies or not enough? Not enough! I feel the same way about nudity. Violence has its place too. It's important to remember that movies are fantasy. They're make-believe. This is not a real thing that's happening. When you're watching Forrest Gump run across the country, that didn't happen because people can't run across the country because it's too long. If it's integral to the story, then go for it. If it looks good, if it's entertaining, yes, I want to see it, of course. I can suspend my disbelief. I can separate myself from reality. So I think that both violence and nudity have their place in cinema. Last question. If a movie was made about your life, what kind of movie would it be? I've thought about this before. I think most people have. Looking back at my childhood and like just anything leading up to today, I don't think it's interesting enough to make a real movie. As much as I would like to make a movie about things that have happened to me in my past or things that I've heard about, like from friends and family and stuff, something would have to be included to make it a little bit more movie-esque and entertaining. So if I were to make a movie about my life, I would have it set in the time period that I grew up in. I would include things that I've personally experienced. But I think in order to make it like a really good movie, I would add some sort of fantasy or sci-fi element, like maybe it's my childhood but there's gremlins in it or something like that, you know? Or I find an alien in my backyard, or you know, anything really. But something like that would probably make my life a little more interesting, as it would most other people's lives. So yeah, that'd be a good movie. Maybe I'll make that. So there you have it. It's the 10th episode. It's in the bag. And I'm going to make some more Dom Talks movies, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining me on this 10th episode. I know it's been 5 months since I made one of these, but I'm trying to get back into this filming thing. So just remember to like and subscribe. Just do it right down there. And I would like to know all your answers. So if you want to answer the questions I just did in the comments, thanks for watching Dom Talks movies. We'll see you next time.